Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a simple question. How did you wake up today? Did you grab your phone, scroll through endless notifications, and let the world set your mood before you even set your intention? Or did you rise with purpose, with energy, with clarity, and with the decision that today I run my life, not the other way around? Your morning decides your life. It's not just about coffee alarms or routine. It's about conditioning your mind, body, and spirit for the battle of the day, because life will test you. Life will challenge you. Life will push back. And if you don't own your morning, you will always find yourself reacting instead of creating. Think about it, the greatest athletes, the most successful entrepreneurs, the leaders who shape nations, they don't stumble into the morning, they design it. They use the first minutes of their day to build momentum, because momentum is power. When you start strong, you carry strength into every single decision, every conversation, every challenge. If you want energy, you can't wait for it. You generate it. If you want focus, you can't hope for it. You create it. And that begins the moment you open your eyes. What you feed your mind first thing in the morning will echo throughout your entire day. If you start with gratitude, your perspective shifts. If you start with movement, your body awakens. If you start with silence and clarity, your spirit sharpens. But if you start with chaos, distraction, and negativity, you've already lost the fight before it even begins. I'll tell you this, success is not built on big, dramatic events. It's built on small, consistent habits. Your morning is a pattern. That pattern becomes your identity, and your identity shapes your destiny. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You just need to master the first hour of your day. Because if you win the morning, you win the day. And if you win enough days, you win your life. So here's the challenge. Don't let your mornings be stolen by laziness, by distractions, by the noise of the world. Take them back. Guard them like your most valuable asset, because they are. Set the tone, set the energy, set the intention. Walk into the day not as a victim of circumstances, but as the creator of your reality. Your morning decides your life. Decide today what kind of life you want, and start living it the moment the sun comes up. When you open your eyes in the morning, you are not just waking up to another day, you are stepping into the beginning of a new story that you get to write. The first hour of your day is the foundation of everything that follows, the invisible force that can either propel you forward or quietly pull you down. Most people underestimate how much power exists in those first 60 minutes. They think mornings are simply about brushing your teeth, getting dressed, grabbing breakfast, and rushing to wherever they need to be. But the truth is, that first hour sets the tone for your state of mind, your energy, your emotions, and ultimately the quality of the decisions you will make. If you allow that hour to be filled with stress, with distraction, with negativity, then the rest of the day is built on shaky ground. But if you use that hour with intention, with clarity, with strength, then you carry momentum that makes every challenge feel lighter, every conversation more powerful, every opportunity easier to recognize. Think about the mornings when you've woken up late, rushed out the door, grabbed your phone, saw a message that stressed you out, and started your day in a hurry. What happened? That frantic energy followed you everywhere. It showed up in your interactions, in your work, in your thoughts. It wasn't just about being late. It was about setting a pattern of chaos that multiplied. On the other hand, think about the mornings when you woke up early. Maybe you exercised. Maybe you spent a few moments in silence. Maybe you set your goals for the day. How different was that day? Even if obstacles came, you handled them with more patience, with more creativity, with more energy. The difference was not in what the world threw at you. The difference was in how you had primed yourself in that first hour of your day. Is like the opening scene of a movie. If the movie begins with chaos, fear, or confusion, the audience expects more of that energy. If it begins with purpose, courage, and clarity, the story flows in that direction. Your brain works the same way. Neuroscience has proven that your state in the morning programs your nervous system for how it will react throughout the day. When you choose gratitude, your brain releases chemicals that shift your mood. When you choose exercise, your body produces energy instead of waiting for it to show up. When you choose focus, your mind develops momentum. And when you choose distraction, scrolling, reacting, consuming instead of creating, you hand over your power to everything and everyone else before you've even had a chance to decide who you want to be. Winners are not people who never face problems. They are people who control how they begin. If you study leaders, athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, you'll find a common thread. They guard their mornings with discipline. Some meditate, some read, some write, some train their bodies. But the key is not what they do. The key is that they do it with intention. They don't stumble into the day, they design it. And when you design your morning, you are designing your life. Because if you win the first battle of the day, the battle with yourself, you carry a spirit of victory into every other area. That victory compounds. It builds confidence. It creates momentum. It makes you unstoppable. Most people are waiting for motivation to hit them later in the day, but motivation is created, not discovered. And it's created by the rituals you practice when the day begins. If your first hour is sloppy, the rest of the day mirrors that sloppiness. If your first hour is strong, the rest of the day rises to match it. You cannot expect to live a disciplined, purposeful life if your mornings are left to chance. The first hour is not about perfection. It's about direction. It's about sending a signal to yourself that you are in control, that you have power, that you are choosing how this day will go. And every time you do that, you strengthen the belief that you are capable of more, that you deserve more, that you can create more. So many people complain about lack of time, lack of focus, lack of progress. But the real issue is not lack of time, it's lack of strategy in the first hour. Because time is created when you master your state. Focus is created when you protect your mornings from distraction. Progress is created when you consistently align your first actions with your bigger vision. When you use your morning to build discipline, the day obeys you. When you use your morning to strengthen your body, your mind follows. When you use your morning to sharpen your thoughts, your actions become sharper. The quality of your morning is the quality of your life. Your morning is not just an hour on the clock. It is the foundation of your identity. If you treat it casually, you are training yourself to treat your life casually. If you treat it with respect, you are training yourself to treat your life with respect. The first hour tells your mind and body whether you are going to drift through the day as a passenger or whether you are going to drive it as the creator. It tells your subconscious whether you are going to live in reaction or whether you are going to lead. That is why the first hour is sacred. It is the soil in which the seeds of your day are planted, and those seeds always grow into something. If you plant fear, distraction, and chaos, you grow confusion. If you plant gratitude, movement, and clarity, you grow strength. Your first hour sets the tone for your entire day, and your entire day is a piece of your life. Guard that hour, design that hour, protect that hour as if everything depends on it, because in reality it does. What you feed your mind in the morning shapes your focus and emotions, and most people don't realize how much control they actually have over this. The moment you wake up, your brain is in a highly suggestible state. It's open, it's absorbing, it's setting the filters through which you will see the rest of the day. If the first thing you feed it is stress, negativity, distraction, or comparison, that becomes the lens you carry with you for the next hours. If the first thing you give it is gratitude, vision, discipline, or inspiration, that becomes your operating system. Your mind is like a garden, and the morning is when the soil is softest, most fertile, most ready to receive. Whatever seeds you drop in during those moments will grow, and they will color how you think, feel, and act as the hours unfold. Think about what happens when someone wakes up and immediately grabs their phone. They see emails demanding something from them, messages reminding them of problems, news filled with fear, social media showing them who they are not, what they don't have, or where they're falling behind. In just 5 minutes of scrolling, they've already taught their nervous system to be reactive, anxious, scattered, and distracted. And then they wonder why it's hard to concentrate, why their emotions feel unstable, why they feel behind all day. They've handed control of their inner state to the outside world before they've even stood up. Compare that to someone who wakes up and instead spends the first minutes filling their mind with gratitude for what they already have, visualizing the kind of day they want to create, reading something uplifting, or affirming their own strength. Their brain begins to filter the day through a perspective of opportunity instead of lack, through courage instead of fear, through clarity instead of noise. Your mind is not neutral. It's programmable. It doesn't just randomly choose what to focus on. It's trained by what you give it. The reticular activating system in your brain acts like a filter, deciding what information is important and what isn't. If you feed it negativity in the morning, it will spend the day looking for more negativity. If you feed it problems, it will spend the day finding more problems. If you feed it gratitude, it will look for more things to be grateful for. If you feed it opportunity, it will spot opportunities where others only see obstacles. That's why the first inputs you allow into your mind are so crucial. They don't just influence how you feel in the moment, they determine how you experience reality all day. Emotions are not random, they are the result of focus. And focus is the result of what you feed your mind. If you wake up and focus on what's missing, you feel lack. If you wake up and focus on what's wrong, you feel stress. If you wake up and focus on what's possible, you feel energy. That's why people who control their mornings seem to have an unshakable emotional foundation. It's not that their lives are easier or that their problems don't exist. It's that they choose to direct their focus toward what strengthens them instead of what weakens them. They are intentional about the inputs they consume because they know the inputs become emotions, and emotions drive action. And action, repeated consistently, becomes destiny. One of the most powerful things you can do is build a ritual that feeds your mind with strength first thing in the morning. It could be reading a few pages of a book that inspires you, listening to a podcast that lifts you up, writing down the 3 things you're most grateful for, or even repeating affirmations that remind you of who you want to be. The specific activity doesn't matter as much as the intention behind it. You are taking command of your mental state instead of leaving it up to chance. You are telling your brain, this is the direction we're going today. This is who I am. This is how I choose to feel. That clarity echoes through every interaction, every decision, every challenge. When people say they feel overwhelmed, unmotivated, or negative, it's often because they've let the wrong voices speak into their minds at the wrong time. They've allowed social media, news, gossip, or stress to plant seeds before they've planted their own. And once those seeds are in, they spread. A negative thought can multiply just like a positive one. The difference is that positive thoughts must be cultivated with intention, while negative ones show up automatically if you leave the garden unattended. That is why your morning matters so much. It is not just the start of your day. It is the moment when you take authority over your mind or surrender it to the noise of the world. Your emotions follow your focus, and your focus follows your inputs. If you want more joy, give your mind joy to focus on. If you want more strength, give your mind images and words of strength. If you want more calm, give your mind silence and gratitude. If you want more hunger and drive, feed your mind with visions of the life you're building. The morning is your chance to decide which emotional state will dominate, and that choice ripples into every relationship, every opportunity, every problem you face. People who say they can't control how they feel are really just saying they haven't taken control of what they feed their minds. But once you understand that power, you realize you can shape your inner world every single day. The question is never whether your mind will be fed. The question is what you will feed it. The morning is the most critical meal for your psychology. And just like your body can't thrive on junk food, your mind can't thrive on junk inputs. When you feed it intentionally, when you give it clarity, gratitude, vision, and strength, you don't just change your mood for a few minutes. You change the quality of your focus for the entire day, and that focus determines the actions you take, the results you create, and the life you build. Energy is not found. It is generated through intentional action, and most people spend their lives searching for it in the wrong places. They wait for motivation to arrive like a visitor, hoping that a sudden rush of enthusiasm will push them into action, only to be disappointed when it never shows up. But energy is not something external. It is something you produce, something you create, something you cultivate within yourself. It starts the moment you wake up with your first thoughts, your first movements, and the way you choose to engage your body and mind. If you wait for energy to find you, you will spend your life chasing it. But if you learn to generate it, to call it forth deliberately, you create a momentum that carries you through any challenge, any task, any obstacle. Your body is a machine built for motion, not for stagnation. When you wake up and immediately sit, scroll, or remain inactive, you send a signal to your system that you are in a state of low demand, low energy, low engagement. Your muscles stiffen, your circulation slows, your nervous system stays in neutral. But when you move, when you stretch, when you breathe deeply, when you engage your body, you activate energy pathways that were dormant during sleep. Even 5 minutes of intentional movement floods your system with oxygen, increases blood flow, and triggers the release of chemicals that wake up your brain and body. Energy is not a feeling you wait for. It is a state you create through action, and the morning is the perfect time to claim it. The mind and body are intimately connected. Your thoughts influence your physiology, and your physiology influences your thoughts. When you feed your mind with complaints, worries, and fear, your body reacts with tension, fatigue, and low energy. When you feed your mind with purpose, vision, and intention, your body responds with vitality, focus, and readiness. The cycle works both ways. You cannot rely solely on thinking positive thoughts to generate energy, nor can you rely solely on physical activity without intention. Energy is produced at the intersection of mind and body, and the morning is the moment when both can be aligned before the world interferes with your rhythm. Most people underestimate the compounding effect of daily energy. When you start each day with high energy, that energy multiplies throughout the day. You solve problems faster, communicate more effectively, make better decisions, and inspire those around you. You become magnetic to opportunities because energy is contagious. Conversely, when you start the day sluggish, disorganized, or mentally drained, that low energy becomes a downward spiral. Small inconveniences feel like mountains, tasks feel impossible, and interactions feel draining. Your energy determines not just what you do, but how you experience life. And the first moments of the morning are the most powerful leverage point. You have to influence it. Breathing is one of the simplest ways to generate energy instantly. Deep, intentional breaths flood your system with oxygen, awaken your brain, and signal your nervous system that it is time to engage. Yet most people breathe shallowly, mechanically, unconsciously, and wonder why they feel tired. Conscious breathing is a tool, a lever, a switch you can pull in the morning to ignite vitality. Pair it with movement, with stretching, with affirmations of purpose, and you begin to see how energy is not something to wait for. It is something to call forth, something to train, something to command. Nutrition also plays a role in energy generation, but it is secondary to the state you create with movement and thought. People often look for energy in sugar, caffeine, or supplements, hoping that an external fix will compensate for internal stagnation. But no drink, pill, or snack can replace the momentum of an awakened mind and an engaged body. The first act of energy generation should be internal: your breath, your posture, your focus, your motion. Once you have set that foundation, food and fuel enhance what is already alive within you. The morning is the perfect time to set these habits because the body and mind are most receptive to priming at the start of the day. Focus and energy are inseparable. When your mind is clear, your energy flows. When your mind is cluttered, energy scatters. Generating energy is not about frantic activity. It is about deliberate, purposeful action. A small set of intentional behaviors repeated consistently creates an upward spiral. 5 minutes of stretching, 10 minutes of visualization, 2 minutes of deep breathing, setting a clear intention for the day. These are not trivial actions. They are the ignition of a system designed to produce energy. You become aware that energy is not a passive resource, but an active outcome of your choices. People who generate energy consistently are not necessarily lucky. They are trained. They understand that energy is produced, not found. They treat the first moments of the day as sacred, knowing that those moments determine the rhythm, intensity, and quality of the rest of the day. They take ownership of their physical state, their mental state, and their emotional state. They don't wait for motivation, they create it. They don't wait for inspiration, they generate it. Energy becomes a tool, a weapon, a force multiplier. And the morning is the laboratory where it is forged. The mind loves patterns and your body loves momentum. When you generate energy each morning, you set a pattern that reinforces itself. The body anticipates movement. The mind anticipates focus, and emotions anticipate engagement. You are no longer at the mercy of circumstance. You are activating energy to respond with power, creativity, and resilience. That energy carries into your interactions, your work, your decisions, and your results. People notice the difference not because you are louder, faster, or more aggressive, but because your presence is charged, your focus is sharp, your vitality is contagious, and the world unconsciously responds to that frequency. Energy is generated, not stumbled upon. It is not a reward, it is a responsibility. And the morning is the moment when you can take that responsibility seriously. Even a few intentional acts, repeated daily, create a momentum that carries you farther than sporadic bursts ever could. It is the combination of movement, breath, focus, and intention that turns waking up from a mechanical act into a deliberate act of creation. Every time you choose to prime yourself with energy in the morning, you are teaching your body and mind to rise to the challenge of life instead of shrinking from it. The first hour of the day is your laboratory for energy, the time to experiment with what activates you, the time to tune your mind, body, and emotions to the frequency you want to live at. When you make energy generation intentional, it becomes automatic over time. You stop relying on luck, circumstance, or external motivation. You create your own internal source that no one can take away. Energy is the invisible force that fuels focus, performance, resilience, and happiness. And the morning is when you can harness it most efficiently, deliberately, and powerfully. Small, consistent morning habits create long-term success, yet most people underestimate how much influence these tiny, repeated actions have over the trajectory of their lives. Success is not the result of a single heroic effort, a sudden stroke of luck, or one dramatic breakthrough. It is built day by day, minute by minute, through habits that compound over time. The first moments of your day are the most fertile ground for these habits because your mind is fresh, your willpower is highest, and your nervous system is most receptive to establishing patterns. What you do repeatedly in those early hours becomes who you are, and who you are determines the life you live. Consider the people you admire most, the leaders, entrepreneurs, athletes. and creators who seem to accomplish more in a year than others do in a decade. One of the secrets they share is that their mornings are not left to chance. They do not wake up and hope for motivation to strike. They design specific routines, specific habits, specific rituals that anchor them in focus, clarity, and purpose. These habits are often simple: a few minutes of movement, a short period of meditation, journaling, reading, planning their day. Yet the consistency of these small acts compounds, building momentum that grows silently and powerfully over weeks, months, and years. Small habits, when repeated consistently, have the extraordinary power to shape the course of a life. The principle of compounding works in human behavior just as it does in finance. A single action may seem insignificant, but repeated over time, it becomes unstoppable. For example, spending 10 minutes every morning visualizing your goals might seem trivial, but over a year, that amounts to thousands of minutes spent reinforcing clarity, focus, and intention. Every decision you make throughout the day is influenced by that clarity. Your energy, focus, and mindset are already aligned because of the habitual investment you made in the first hour. Success is rarely about grand gestures. It is almost always the result of small, consistent practices performed without fail. Habits are the building blocks of identity. If you exercise every morning, you are training yourself to be the type of person who is disciplined. If you write every morning, you are training yourself to be creative. If you read and learn every morning, you are training yourself to be knowledgeable. Over time, these repeated behaviors become automatic. They are no longer conscious efforts, but embedded in your identity. And your identity shapes your results. People do not act contrary to who they believe they are. They act in alignment with that identity. Therefore, when you cultivate small, consistent habits in the morning, you are essentially programming yourself to become the person capable of achieving your biggest goals. Consistency is the secret weapon of those who achieve extraordinary results. Talent, opportunity, and intelligence matter, but they pale in comparison to the power of persistent, repeated action. Many people fail not because they lack ability, but because they neglect the repetition of small habits that build the foundation for long-term success. In the morning, when you have the chance to start fresh, the impact of these habits is amplified. You are shaping your mindset, your energy, and your focus before the chaos of the day arrives. When you protect this time, you are protecting the engine that drives your results. It is important to recognize that small habits must be intentional. Random acts, even if repeated, do not create momentum. The habits you cultivate in the morning must align with your larger goals and vision. For example, if you want to be mentally sharp, reading or journaling each morning reinforces mental clarity. If you want to be physically strong, exercise primes your body and builds discipline. If you want to develop emotional resilience, meditation or reflection allows you to anchor your emotions before the day begins. The morning is a laboratory for intentional practice where you can choose exactly what you want to cultivate and create a system that consistently delivers growth. The compounding effect of these habits is often invisible at first. You may not notice dramatic changes in a week or even a month, but over time, the effects are undeniable. Each small habit reinforces the others. Your mind becomes sharper, your energy rises, your decisions improve, your productivity increases. Momentum grows quietly, silently, but powerfully. People who ignore this underestimate the influence of repeated actions and overestimate the impact of single efforts. In reality, it is the daily investment in small habits that separates the average from the exceptional. The ordinary from the extraordinary. Morning habits also have a psychological effect. They create a sense of control, discipline, and empowerment. When you commit to consistent actions before the world demands anything from you, you signal to yourself that you are the driver of your life. That sense of agency carries throughout the day. Challenges are met with confidence, setbacks are handled with resilience, and opportunities are seized with clarity. Small habits performed consistently give you mastery over yourself, and mastery over yourself is the foundation for long-term success. The beauty of morning habits is that they compound across all areas of life. Physical habits improve mental clarity. Mental habits improve emotional resilience. Emotional habits improve relationships. The interconnection of habits creates a system where growth in one area reinforces growth in others. When you wake up and invest in yourself intentionally, you are creating a positive feedback loop that multiplies across time. The small choices you make consistently in the morning become the catalyst for exponential improvement in your career, relationships, health, and personal fulfillment. People often struggle with habit formation because they try to start too many new behaviors at once or they aim for perfection. The key is simplicity and repetition. Choose a few small actions that have the greatest impact on your day and commit to them consistently. Even a few minutes of focused practice every morning is enough to create momentum. It is the discipline of repetition that builds power, not the quantity of effort. When you perform small, consistent habits daily, you establish a rhythm that aligns your body, mind, and spirit with your purpose. That rhythm becomes unstoppable because it is embedded in your identity, reinforced by daily practice, and amplified over time. Habits are also a form of leverage. When you automate positive behaviors in the morning, you reduce decision fatigue, conserve willpower, and free mental energy for higher level thinking and creative problem solving. By investing in small, consistent actions first thing in the day, you create leverage that magnifies your effectiveness throughout the day. You are no longer reacting to circumstances or relying on fleeting motivation. You are operating from a foundation of consistency, discipline, and momentum, which allows you to perform at your best in every situation. The first hour of the day is the perfect opportunity to reinforce the habits that lead to long-term success. It is a protected window where you can design your life incrementally, moment by moment. Every action, no matter how small, carries weight when repeated consistently. The power lies not in dramatic changes, but in the compounding effect of small, intentional acts that build over time. By committing to these morning habits, you are not just improving today, you are shaping tomorrow, next month, next year, and ultimately your life trajectory. Small, consistent actions performed each morning are the foundation upon which extraordinary results are built. Win your morning, and you win your life. This statement is not a cliche. It is a principle grounded in human behavior, psychology, and the experiences of those who achieve extraordinary results. Every day, the battle for your life is won or lost in the first hour after you wake up. It is in these moments that you decide whether you will be reactive or proactive, scattered or focused, weak or empowered. The first hour sets the trajectory for every choice, every action, every emotion, and every interaction that follows. To win your life, you must first claim your morning, because the morning is where your energy, focus, and intentions are established. When most people wake up, they do so mechanically. They hit the snooze button, scroll through social media, check emails, and let the demands of the world dictate their state. By the time they get out of bed, they have already handed over control of their day to external circumstances. They are reacting to other people's agendas, other people's fears, other people's drama. They are operating from a position of low energy and scattered focus, and they wonder why they feel overwhelmed, unproductive, or frustrated. The truth is that the state you carry into your day is determined in those first minutes. And if you lose control of the morning, you are setting yourself up to lose control of life itself. Winning your morning begins with intention. It begins with deciding the moment you wake up that you are not a passenger in your own life. You are the driver. You choose your focus, your energy, and your emotional state before the world has a chance to impose its chaos. This requires awareness and discipline. It requires understanding that small actions in the morning compound into massive results over time. Simple practices, deep breathing, movement, journaling, visualization, gratitude may seem insignificant in isolation, but repeated consistently, they shape the trajectory of your life. These are not just routines. They are strategic investments in your identity, your mindset, and your capacity to perform. Energy is the foundation of winning your morning. Without it, focus and intention cannot be maintained. When you wake up and engage your body through movement, stretch, or exercise, you awaken not just your muscles, but your nervous system. Your heart rate rises, your blood flows, and your brain receives the oxygen and nutrients it needs to function at peak capacity. This is not about burning calories or training for performance in isolation. It is about creating a state of readiness, a level of energy that enables you to face challenges with clarity and confidence. Movement in the morning is the spark that ignites the engine of your day. Equally important is the state of your mind. Your thoughts shape your emotions, and your emotions shape your actions. When you begin the day by focusing on problems, fears, or what is lacking, you program your nervous system for stress, tension, and scarcity. When you begin the day with gratitude, visualization, and affirmation, you program your nervous system for opportunity, creativity, and abundance. This mental conditioning in the first hour is what separates those who live life passively from those who create results with consistency. Your morning thoughts act as a lens, coloring every experience and influencing every decision you make for the rest of the day. The power of small habits cannot be overstated. Winners do not rely on occasional bursts of brilliance. They rely on systems that create results automatically. Morning habits are the building blocks of those systems. Journaling for 5 minutes can clarify your goals and priorities. Reading for 10 minutes can expand your knowledge and perspective. Meditating for a few minutes can center your mind and stabilize your emotions. These are tiny actions, yet they create compounding effects that ripple throughout your life. They are like deposits into a bank account of discipline, focus, and resilience, and over time, these deposits grow exponentially into results that seem extraordinary to those who are untrained in this practice. Control over your morning is also control over your decisions. Decision fatigue is a silent killer of productivity and effectiveness. When your first hour is chaotic, your mind is already taxed, your willpower depleted, and your clarity diminished. By establishing a structured morning routine, you remove unnecessary choices, automate positive behaviors, and free mental bandwidth for higher level thinking and creative problem solving. Winning your morning is about designing a system that ensures your best self shows up before the noise of the world attempts to hijack your focus. The first hour also sets the tone for emotional resilience. Life will inevitably throw challenges at you, conflict, setbacks, unexpected demands. Your ability to respond with composure, focus, and effectiveness depends on the state you cultivate in the morning. When you anchor yourself in habits that generate energy, clarity, and positivity, you create an emotional buffer that allows you to face adversity without being derailed. Emotional resilience is not innate. It is built through intentional practice, and the morning provides the perfect environment to reinforce it before the pressures of the day begin. Accountability and self-mastery are reinforced in the morning. When you commit to controlling your first hour, you are committing to yourself, to your values, and to your vision. This practice strengthens discipline, builds confidence, and teaches you that your actions matter more than circumstances. Each day becomes a training ground for self-mastery, a rehearsal for the kind of life you want to live. The morning is not just a time of day. It is a proving ground where you demonstrate to yourself that you are capable of leading your life instead of being led. Winning your morning is also about creating momentum. Momentum is the invisible force that makes action easier, decisions clearer, and progress inevitable. When you start your day with purpose, clarity, and energy, that momentum carries into every interaction, every project, every opportunity. Small victories in the morning compound, reinforcing a sense of capability and effectiveness that fuels further success. People who underestimate the power of morning momentum fail to realize that it is the engine behind high performance, resilience, and consistent achievement. Consistency is the multiplier. Winning your morning once is powerful, but winning it daily transforms your life. The compound effect of repeated, intentional morning practices creates results that are disproportionate to the effort initially invested. Every day you control your morning, you are not just shaping a day, you are shaping your identity, your capacity, your trajectory. The habits, energy, focus, and mindset you cultivate each morning become automatic over time, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of excellence. It is not about perfection, it is about commitment. Some mornings will be messy, unpredictable, or imperfect, but even imperfect action beats inactivity. Winning your morning is about showing up, taking control, and committing to the process. Over time, the accumulation of these efforts creates a life characterized by intentionality, achievement, and fulfillment. Your morning is a microcosm of your life. How you begin reflects how you will navigate challenges, seize opportunities, and create results. To master your life, you must master the first hour, because mastery in the morning translates directly into mastery over your life. When you integrate these principles, you begin to see mornings not as a routine to get through, but as a strategic advantage. Every day becomes an opportunity to reinforce habits, generate energy, clarify purpose, and strengthen your mind and body. The decisions, emotions, and focus cultivated in the morning cascade into the rest of the day, creating a trajectory toward your goals. The act of winning your morning is the act of winning yourself, and in doing so, you set the stage for a life of discipline, power, and extraordinary results.